We are broadcasting live from Scottsdale, Arizona, where the temperature is about 68 degrees inside.
Thank you, coolers. This is Stephen and Annette Economides from Money Smart Family.
And we're going to let the audience gather for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And we're trying something new today. We are broadcasting on Facebook and on YouTube at the same time.
Yes, we are.
Hopefully
Welcome.
it will work. So we're going to monitor that.
Right. And thank y'all for being patient with us. We've had a couple of rough weeks. Gosh, I had a cousin pass away, very young, 52 years old. And he really was more like a brother than a cousin. And our family, he had like a stepbrother and a half-sister, but they don't live here, and he didn't know them real well. And anyway, it was hard. It was very hard for our family, and I think it was extra hard because, gosh, just a couple of months back, 2 months back, we lost a best friend, a good friend that was mid-50s also. His name was Jim, and that was really hard. So it's been a rough summer, but tonight we're going to share about saving money on utilities, and we're pretty excited because really, depending on where you live around the country, there are things you need to prepare for all year long. And so we probably will just scratch the surface tonight, but we're going to talk about as much as we can, and we're counting on you all to give us some feedback. We may not be able to answer all your questions during the live show,
but we'll get to them online afterwards.
Yes, we'll check in online afterwards.
We are ready to
Okay.
go live. And
All right, here we are.
And I don't know how many people are tuned in, but we're glad that you're here.
Yes.
And you over there and over there. And oh, that person in the back, I saw him raise their hand.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So,
And I don't know where you live and what the temperature is by you, but even though it's hot during the day here, the mornings and the evenings are cooling off. And so we feel like it's fall, and we are just loving this time of year.
oh, we've got some great people to say hi to, so we'll just take a couple minutes and while people are gathering, and then we're going to get into this because we've got 4 pages of notes to go through.
Hi, Marianne from Missouri, and Neil, hi. And let's see, oh my goodness, they're flying through. Denise and Terry Ann and Elaine and Danielle and Darren and look at this.
People from Washington, from Tennessee.
Hi, Linda
from Disney, watching
Brenda.
on vacation.
Aww.
Rich and Michelle.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
They want to go on vacation. Oh, and Elaine's been praying for us. Thank you, Elaine.
Yes, that's awesome.
So,
We've missed all you guys. We really haven't.
Yep.
There are some exciting things coming up this fall. I mean, I just get so excited for the holidays. I'm thinking about, different recipes I want to share with y'all throughout the next couple of months that are special holiday foods, and there'll be all kinds of topics that we can talk about, from gift giving to, we haven't mapped it all out yet, but it's going to be really fun. The holidays are really awesome.
Okay, so let's get started.
Okay.
We're talking about how to save on utilities all year long.
Yes.
Because utilities really can be very costly, especially if you live in a part of the country or the world where there are extremes. So like in Arizona, we have 120 degree days during the summer.
Yes.
We know friends who live back east up in Maine and Wisconsin and Minnesota, where it gets to 20, 30, 40 below zero.
Right.
And their temperatures cause them to spend a lot of money during the winter months.
Yes.
So we're going to give you tips on how to save no matter what time of year, and we're going to give you some how we do it. We have multiple systems that we run to keep our house cool and keep our house warm, and tell you about ways that we can save on that.
Okay, so
let's jump into it. The first thing we're going to talk about is saving on water.
Yes.
Now, this is not a big expense. Even in Arizona, our water rates are relatively inexpensive.
Yes, they are.
Now, we live on 3/4 of an acre. We have about 50 or 60 trees on our property, about 20 citrus trees. And so our water bill during the summer, our highest bill is about $300 a month.
Mm-hmm.
But for the whole year, it's probably averages around $100 to $150 a month. But what we've done is we've done some things. When the kids were living at home, there are 7 of us in the house, and we figured if everybody flushed the toilet 4 times a day, and the average toilet flush took 2.5 gallons, you're talking 10 gallons a person. That's 70 gallons a day. You multiply that times the whole month. That's 720, 210
I'll be
gallons.
right back.
It gets to be quite a bit of water. So one simple thing we do, and this works only if you have older tanks that have the 2.5 to 3 gallon flush, is to put a 32-ounce bottle filled with water and some rocks on the bottom so it doesn't float, and put that in the tank. It displaces 32 ounces of water from your tank every time you flush. So every 4 flushes saves you 1 gallon of water. So just real quick math, if you did 4 flushes a day, each person would save a gallon a day. That's 365 gallons in a year, or 350.
It's not a lot. Water, there's not a lot of savings.
Right. But multiply that times 4 people, you're going to save, 1,000, maybe 1,500 gallons of water. So that's one way to save. Now, another way with kids, this is a funny story. So our kids like to take showers. I mean, some of the boys didn't really like to take showers.
Oh, gosh.
We had to encourage them. Anyway, one night, the shower was running for a long time, and we could hear it because the shower, the back bathroom backs up to the dining room, and we could hear the shower running and running and running. And I knocked on the door, and I wasn't getting an answer from a child who will remain unnamed, and wasn't getting an answer. So finally, I just cracked the door, and I noticed he was standing in the he was standing in the shower.
We have lots of stories about our sons, which shall remain nameless.
Reading a book in the shower, just standing there, letting the water run on him.
Yes.
So from that day on, we instituted a 10-minute shower rule where we set a timer.
Now the girls that had long hair got to have more time, but and we fudged a little bit,
Yeah.
but definitely not a half-hour shower.
Right.
No way.
Right.
So anyway, these are all very little things.
So set a timer, set it loud enough so that you can hear it, so the kid can hear it, and hopefully it won't be a problem. Or one family we know let their kids help pay the utility bills,
Right.
and they made it a game to see how much they could save. They involved the kids, and that was a good idea. Another way to save is with low flow shower heads, and today, a lot of companies are selling these. Massive rain shower heads, really big ones. They don't save a lot of water. So there's a little disc that goes inside of a low flow shower head, or you can add to a regular shower head that restricts the flow of water. You'll still get the pressure, but you won't use as much water, and it'll save some money. Another thing we do is we have filtered water. Now, years ago, we had a reverse osmosis system.
Yes, we did.
And we did some reading, and it takes about 4 gallons of water to make 1 gallon of reverse osmosis water, because the 4 gallons are used to rinse the membranes full of all the sediment and debris and things that it takes out of the water. So it uses, and we noticed this when ever the reverse osmosis system was working, we'd hear water trickling down the drain almost all the time.
Right.
And this is a terrible waste. So we dumped that system. We paid more than $100 for it, and we paid about $70 for a triple filter water system. It looks something like this. I'll share a link from Amazon.
Right.
But a triple filter, and you measure the microns, and I can't remember what the microns were that it goes down to, but it filters out everything. We don't have any bad taste. The filters are not that expensive.
And the awesome thing about that is not only did you have it connected to our kitchen sink, but somehow you ran a line so that it comes through the cooled water on the refrigerator. Right. So that's also filtered, which is really awesome.
Right, because the filters they put on new refrigerators these days cost about $35 to $40, and they have little indicators that they go bad pretty quickly. So by doing this, you have one set of filters. You filter it in both places, and it saves you money and time.
Okay, now when you go out of town, this is just a little trick. Even for a weekend, a week, make sure you turn off the water to your washing machine. We have heard so many stories of people going out of town and coming home to 2 inches of water throughout their entire house because their hoses burst on their washing machine from the pressure being there. Steve recommends using
Now, these are steel reinforced braided. You can see the braid on here. This actually is a gas line for our gas dryer. But I use these same hoses for the washing machine and for all of the toilets. They aren't very expensive, but they save, the old rubber hoses will get an
Pinhole.
ulcer in them. Well, not
An
a pinhole.
ulcer.
An ulcer, they'll get a little bubble and then they'll burst. And they recommend changing those out every 3 or 4 years. Well, these we have for years and years and years, and they don't go bad. So
Right. And
it's a
you
great-
have those not only on our washer, but the water for our
All the toilets.
refrigerator, the
Oh, yes.
toilets.
Mhm.
So they're totally worth the investment. And he'll put a link up. Steve will put a link up. Of course, with our Amazon affiliate, which means it doesn't change your price, but it helps us pay for our website, which is awesome. And these things are all kind of precautionary things that not everybody thinks about doing. Also, check your drip system if you have a drip system anywhere on your property.
If you have an in-the-ground sprinkler system.
Right.
And your hose bibs.
Yes.
Those all have washers in them, and they
Yes.
should be changed and checked. But we have so many water lines in our yard to water our trees that we're constantly finding leaks and fixing them.
Right.
And those can be
But
real
they have to
sources
be
of
monitored because those could end up being
big sources of wasting water.
hundreds of gallons.
Yes. So you want to check your drip, check your outside plumbing, fix your faucets in your bathroom. You know, usually you can watch a YouTube video and figure out how to do that. And we also have a video on how to change a toilet flapper.
Mm-hmm.
Those can be water wasters too, and they aren't that expensive. So
Now we know there's some of you that live in awesome places in the country, like we've spoken in Ohio, and there's people that have said, "Oh, I haven't been out to my garden in like 3 weeks, and I have to see it's probably all overgrown, and there's probably all kinds of stuff to harvest." And I'm like, "Oh my, I cannot wrap my head around that because in Arizona, especially in the summer, if you miss one day, your garden's gone." And even in the wintertime, it's still warm. I think it would survive a couple of days, but certainly not 3 weeks because we don't get rain like Ohio people get. So, boy, oh boy, if that's where you are, if you live in Ohio, then please grow a garden and just tell us about it. Also, can you remember we get a special rate for our orchard? What's that? Because we have so many trees that are edible.
in the city of Phoenix, they have a way you can write into the city and tell them how many trees you have on your property, and they ask for approximately how big the tree line is, and they have a calculation that says, okay, if you have this many trees, then you're putting this much water into the ground rather than down the sewers.
Yes.
So they give you a reduction.
Yes.
But you have to apply for it every year. Now, we thought we would be, with the number of trees we have, we thought we would be able to apply for being an agricultural property, but we don't get close to that number, so we can't do that. But we did get a reduction in the fees they charge us for putting water down the sewer because so much of it is going into the
Right.
ground and
what's-
replenishing groundwater.
And what's cool is when we clean out and empty our pool, our property is so large that by moving the hose all over the property, our property absorbs that water and it doesn't spill into the street at all.
Okay,
Okay.
so the next topic we're going to talk about is heating your home and how to save there. But let's take a minute and see if you guys have any questions or any comments, because I'm sure you guys all you have ways of saving on water, and so let's.
Okay, we can only do a couple because we have a lot to get through tonight. Let's see. Thanks for sharing, Tara. She's an awesome friend. Okay. I think you need to refresh,
Yeah,
maybe.
well, if you're ever in New Jersey, I'd love to host you at my Army unit. Okay, James.
Oh
That'd
my
be
gosh,
cool.
James, that would be awesome.
Yep. Let's go down. Hello from Disney.
How far are you from New York City, James? Because sometimes we get to go to New York City for TV shows, and I know we fly into Newark, New Jersey, so I don't know how far away you are, but that is really awesome.
Yeah, we love helping our friends in the military because we know
Yes.
you don't get paid a lot, but you definitely serve
Serve
well.
our
and-
country so well.
And
Yes.
our son-in-law served for 8 years. And hold on, let me get back to the page.
Okay.
So we're going to see if there's any new questions on here, and if not,
We're going to keep moving.
Keep
Okay,
moving.
we're going to keep moving. We're going to talk about heating your home right now.
oh, wait,
And-
one more thing
Okay.
before we jump into heating the home. If you know someone who might benefit from this information because they're either struggling financially or have a big house and they've been complaining about how much they're spending, share this message with them, either now or later on,
Yes.
and hopefully they'll get it and be able to share it with other people, because we want to help people save
Yes,
money.
we do.
So they don't have to work as hard, so they can have more discretionary income, and so they can actually put more money in savings.
Yes.
So that's
Okay, so let's talk about winter is coming.
Let's talk about
Heating your home. Winter is coming. Most of you, well, many of you live in places where it gets mighty cold in the wintertime. If you're from the Midwest, if you're from the East Coast, you're going to have a winter. A really good winter. So start with making sure all your windows are covered with drapes, curtains, shutters. We have a place out here called Stardust Building Supply. People donate their, like when they remodel, we have actually found honeycomb blinds for like $10 that perfectly fit
for a 6-foot window.
a 6-foot window in our bedroom, and it was cold in our bedroom before we put that up.
I didn't bring out a sample of honeycomb blinds, but basically they're fabric on both sides, but they're about this thick, and they have fabric in between, and they create a good layer of insulation.
Right.
But what we try to do on our windows, when we can, is use 2 layers, so something inset into the window and then something hanging in front of it.
Right. Space heaters are a good option if you just need to heat a small space, say an office in your home or the TV room at night. And as a last resort, cardboard in your windows, but we hate to recommend that because it's really not fun to look at when you're in a neighborhood.
Right.
And so
unless you paint something really scenic.
Unless it, if it's really, really cold and you just can't come up with something, you can even put blankets on windows, right?
Mm-hmm.
Blankets work to cover windows. And so temporarily, if it's cold and it's winter, do what you need to do to stay warm and make sure those windows are covered.
There are other people who, companies that sell plastic that you use the removable tape on, and they tape over the outside edge of their windows inside the house to keep drafts from coming in. That's another good way to do it. Also, if you have some money, spend the money to get insulation. Redo the felt or the rubber insulation on your windows if you feel leaks coming in. And then, of course, if you really want to spend some money, putting in double insulated windows on a house is usually a good investment. You may not get your money back in 5 years, but it'll happen pretty quick.
But I think there's other things, that are much cheaper than the dual pane windows. Caulk and weather stripping. Make sure you go around your house and all your baseboards are caulked. We just realized this year that we had our
baseboards, though.
Right, but we had our wood floors refinished, and the crew that put it back together just slapped baseboards up, and they were a little bit crooked. They weren't done well, and Steve never went through and finished caulking them. So guess what we're doing tomorrow?
So
we're caulking baseboards.
Caulking baseboards will help a little bit. Check around each of your outlets, and if you put your hand or your cheek near your outlet, you may feel some cold air coming in there. There's foam insulation that you can put inside your outlets. I've also taken the door frames off of doors and used the spray foam inside around the furring strips on the door, and then put the frame
it's like
around,
molding
around the outside, and then on the outside, obviously caulking around to keep the air.
And if you live in a place where it's hot in the summer, like we do, plant shade trees. As a matter of fact, Arizona even has a program where they will I know we're bouncing back and forth between hot and cold, but
the truth is, plant trees for winter for windbreak.
Well, yes, that and shrubs. Mm-hmm. Shrubs up against your house as a windbreak are really powerful in the wintertime. But Arizona has an actual program out here where you can go and sign up to get some desert, like low water trees that will grow and shade your property, and they come and check to make sure you're taking care of them, but the trees are free. And so, check in your area if there's any kind of agriculture program like that. It could benefit you.
Okay, now let's go into some more extreme measures for saving heat on your home. And one of the main things you can do that doesn't take a lot of time, this is usually maybe 4 or 5 phone calls to get prices, but put insulation in your attic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Over time,
it's been a long week.
Over time, the insulation in your attic, if it's loose insulation, will settle. And if you don't have a good thickness in there, and they have our measurements for how thick it needs to be, you'll be spending more money on heating and cooling. Now, we did this in our old house, and our house was like 1,500 square feet, and it cost, I think, $300 or $400.
Yes, it was
to
very
have the
reasonable.
insulation blown in. It's basically ground up newspaper or different materials, and they blew it in, and we ended up with about a foot of insulation, and our utility bills just dropped like crazy.
Yes. Now this is
There's a new technology. Well, no, this is new technology. We have a flat roof on our house, and so in Arizona that's pretty common. They slope a little bit, but there's a thing called foam, spray foam for the roofs, and that's what we have. And so our 3,500 square foot house costs about $1,900 a year to heat and cool, and it's just amazing. Well, no, a little bit more because heat is gas, but it's not that much more. And so for a house this size, that's really inexpensive. And we know that the insulation works because one time when I painted the roof, you paint it with an elastomeric coating. I painted 2 coats of paint. One was beige because I got the beige paint cheaper, and the second coat was white. Well, after 5 years, the white paint had pretty much worn off and the roof was beige. Well, when I painted it again, I painted it all white. Our utility bills went down 10% because we weren't having the beige paint, which absorbed more heat and heated the house more. It wasn't exposed anymore, so
Now,
it definitely saves.
we highly recommend self-closing.
No, hold on. I want to talk about one other
okay.
thing. This is a new technology. I want to show you a picture of it. Okay, that's inside the toilet. No, we don't want to show you that. This is blowing in insulation in an attic, and this is how they do it. But I want to show you what the spray foam insulation looks like on the roof. This is stuff, you can buy little cans of this spray foam, and it comes out, and it's an oil-based spray, and it expands. And
Oh my
it's good
gosh,
for
look at
filling
that outfit he's in. Wow.
It's good for filling in little cracks, but they are now doing this on the underside of rafters on houses. This is the same foam we have on our roof that's about 2 inches thick. Well, you have this, and you have sprayed in the foam, loose foam insulation. Your house will be super insulated. Plus, this also acts as a water barrier. So just
If
think
there's
about
leaks, it protects.
Yeah, right. So this is a way to save a lot of money. I'm sure it's expensive.
Right.
But if you have the discretionary income, I'm sure you
It's
do a cost analysis and look at the cost and what they claim you'll save, and I bet it will pay for itself in about 5 years.
Yes.
So
okay.
that's cool
So
technology.
you talk about this. Self-closing hinges.
You talk about that.
Okay, are really good to have on your doors. Now, if you've got little ones, you want to make sure they're set to go very, very slow, not fast. And we have had some fingers that have been closed in the door and some tears. Not a whole lot. Pinches because you made them slow. But they are good to have.
So we didn't ever have to tell our kids shut the door,
Right.
Because these self-closing hinges, there's a little screw on the top where you can adjust the tension, and it'll vary how hard it will close the door, and it's just wonderful.
Right. Okay. Find free firewood. Around our neighborhood, we live in a very suburban area, and they have something called Big Trash Pickup 4 times a year. And if people have had tree branches fall off, or they've cut down trees, or they've had trees fall down, a lot of times they'll cut that up into bigger pieces and put it out for big trash. And so we'll go around when it's time for big trash, and we will just load our van full of wood, and we'll bring it back, and then Steve will have a great workout cutting it and then splitting it. And we usually keep about a quart of wood. I know that sounds crazy for Arizona, but there are some cold, rainy days here in December and January. And so we do keep some wood here, and we have an awesome fireplace that's a flow through between the living room and the family room. And so, gosh, we helped somebody one time that lived in Vermont or New Hampshire. Vermont, and they put in 12 cords of wood for the winter. So you may not be able to trash pick all your wood, but if you live on forestry land, I don't know what the rules are about that, but there could be some great tips there for getting firewood. We just never have a problem getting firewood because we don't need a lot and we can find it, especially in our neighborhood where the lots are so big, 1/2 acre to 3/4 of an acre. People are always losing trees.
Okay, another option, and this is something we highly encourage people to do, is have 2 sources for heating and cooling your home. So if you have gas heat, electric heat, whatever you have, propane, get a wood burning stove. or a fireplace, we have a heater-later insert that has a fan that blows through the grating and brings the heat into the room. But having an alternative measure, if prices ever go up really crazy on one method of heating, you can switch over to the other, or you can supplement and save money. So I know that they're coming out with wood-burning stoves, and they burn pellets, and they're very clean burning. So I encourage you to look at prices on that. And you can. We had a Franklin stove in our old house.
Mm-hmm.
It's cast iron. That thing heated up the 3 front rooms amazingly.
And I just want to stop and say, you guys are making some great comments on the feed. So make sure you're all looking at the feed, because the comments are amazing.
After we get through this section on heating your home, we'll read some of the comments.
Okay, so
one of the last ways to save money heating your home is to get a new programmable thermostat. Now, there are also energy management systems that can work in conjunction with this that can really save you money. But we use, this is a Lux thermostat. Our son-in-law and our son have the newer Nest thermostats that are Wi-Fi controlled. Now, I'll show you a picture of a couple of these here. I'll give you a link and then I'll show you a picture. Hold on for just a second. Okay, so these are the links for the Nest and the Wi-Fi thermostats. And I'll show you a picture of it, but it's amazing the technology and what you can do these days with these thermostats. Now the Nest learns your habits. You can program
a little freaky.
You can program it from home or from your phone, and you can check the temperature at home. And they also have security systems that go with it, but that's an additional charge. They cost about $200. I would estimate that it'd probably take about 3 or 4 years for it to save you the money that you spent on it. Then we use what's called a Lux thermostat, and this is a simple programmable one. You can have 4 ons and offs a day, and it works really good. This isn't Wi-Fi, but there are other thermostats that are Wi-Fi that you can get. And our Lux thermostats, we bought them on eBay, and I think they cost $50 or $60 a piece. And we've had this probably for about 8 or 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind going with the Wi-Fi one, but the price has to make sense. So,
okay.
A question for you guys, and put it on the feed if you can, but how do you save, if you live in the really cold climates, how do you save on heating oil and or propane for the winter? Because we've heard people spending $2,000 or $3,000 a month heating their homes in upstate New York or
Michigan.
Maine, Michigan.
Crazy.
It's really pricey.
Okay, so my thinking, and I know out here, like,
how would you say?
If you buy on the off season, it's helpful. So chime in, will you, and share with everybody. If you buy your propane like before the busy season hits, is that a better price, or doesn't it matter? Is it the same price all year long? How do you gauge that? And if you buy before the busy season, can you get enough to take you through the busy season? Right. So those that use propane or oil, chime in and give us some input on that.
Okay, and one more aside about off-season. The time you'll save the most money buying supplies and buying appliances is buying off-season. So for the winter, it's almost too late to find the best deals, but you may be able to find one if you're looking for a wood-burning stove, if you're looking for a new furnace. You may be right in between seasons, and the suppliers and the installers may be slow, and this may be a great time to find a great
just
deal.
Right at the start of the season.
Right.
Everybody hasn't decided that they need to turn things on or make that change, so you can usually find some good deals right at the start, right before it gets. Someone asked about mobile homes. How do you help people with energy management in mobile homes? And I don't know that you can change the thickness of the walls on a mobile home, but you can, I think, plant. That would be my guess. I would
do a couple of things.
And window coverings for sure.
I would do a couple of things. On a mobile home, because it's metal usually, I would investigate putting spray foam on the roof, because that's always exposed to the sun. The other thing you can do is put awnings off to the side, which would create shade and shade the sides of the mobile home. Mm-hmm. So as much as you can do to shade it. Insulation on the outside, I mean, you could look into putting siding on it, insulated siding, which would be another option, or possibly, They wrap houses now with styrofoam. They glue the styrofoam on, then they put chicken wire, and they put stucco on it, and that may be another way to insulate the outside of a mobile home.
Now, one of the things we didn't talk about is that because we are really faithful budgeters, and we reconcile our budget every 2 weeks, or twice a month is really when we do ours, the 1st and the 15th. We don't do a shore pay for our utilities. Like there's some utility companies that will even out your utilities over the year. We do it ourselves. So over the summer, which is our most heavy intensive utility time, we need extra money in there. So throughout the fall and the winter and the spring, we're accruing money to cover us through the summer.
So we put aside about $180 every 2 weeks, $360 a month, and it'll build up coming into the summer, and we'll go into the summer with about $800 to $1,000 extra in our utility account, and then eventually we'll pare that
Deplete
down,
that.
and by the end of the summer we'll be about flush, maybe a little bit in the hole, and then we'll build up again through the winter.
Yes.
Budgeting is, we have a whole section on our website on budgeting. And
Yes, we do. And our first book talks about it in great detail.
Budgeting may seem like a hassle, but it is a wonderful discipline to have, and it'll help you work through some really tough financial times if you have your money disciplined.
And, you know, if you are frugal, budgeting will make everything go so much further. But we aren't going to go into a lot of budgeting. We'll hit on budgeting in January. But so we need to finish.
Let's jump to.
Oh
okay,
gosh! We've got some more.
We're done with the heating. We're going to jump to some questions here.
Okay.
I want to jump back to water because our friend Neil said, to those of you who love gardening as I do and know they will be using a lot of water, look for an irrigated property in Phoenix, Arizona, in the greater Phoenix area. They had canals, and so irrigated properties. Neil says he pays $127 for the whole year for 2 hours of flood irrigation every 2 weeks. It's an amazing way if you have trees and you want to grow things to do it inexpensively. Massive savings. Sandy Farrell says our daughter has this in her home. It's an amazing in her attic, even cooler in the summer. It's the spray foam on the underside of the rafters. We got Elsie from Australia here. So hi, Elsie.
Okay.
Darlene says if you use spray foam with shingle roofs, make sure the brand of shingles will honor your warranty. Some shingle companies don't.
That's ridiculous.
Well, I don't recommend putting spray foam on shingle roofs only because it just looks.
No, on the underside.
No,
I think that's
on the top side, and I've seen people do it, and so you still see the shingles through the foam, and it just kind of looks tacky. So you have to come up with I would do the foam on the underside of the rafters, and then it wouldn't touch.
But even then, Darlene.
And then it wouldn't touch. If you do the foam on the underside of the rafters, it doesn't touch the shingles, which won't void the warranty.
I don't know how the rules go for that. Okay, so let's move on to cooling. And I know we're coming to the end of the cooling season, but we need to touch on it too because we want this to be comprehensive. Ceiling fans are wonderful for cooling your house, but they are only effective if you are in the room where they're working. Once you leave the room, turn off the ceiling. There are discount. We have seen them at garage sales, new in the box, where people have bought them and decided not to put them up for some reason. So
we bought our last one for $15
yes.
at a rummage sale, new in the box.
Right. Also, like I talked to you about those Habitat for Humanity stores where people can donate the stuff that they're remodeling, whether it's kitchens, bathrooms, whatever. And Restores and Stardust out here have all of that stuff at a discount. Check that out. Okay, floor fans also are excellent. We just move them around in the summertime depending on which room we're in. There's a link for that. Do you want to put that up? Okay. Shade trees. We talked about that. Very, very important. And obviously you want to pick the ones that work, that grow naturally in your climate so that they're low water. You're not really working to keep them alive because your climate is a natural fit for them.
Here's a tip, and we kind of alluded to this, but we bought air conditioning units back in 2000 for this house. We had to put 2 air conditioning units on, and we had prices from $10,000 down to $5,000 for 2 identical units. And we ended up obviously going with the less expensive option, but what we found out was we were doing this in March or April. It was before the summertime started, and the big company, that was wanting to install it had crews that were working, but they didn't want to lay people off because it was slow, so they cut the price on the air conditioning unit, and we got 2 units installed for $5,000.
Which is crazy.
Now, just last year,
We had to replace one.
We had to replace one of them.
And I did it on the off season. I did it in spring before the summer heat hit, and
It still cost $5,000.
it was $5,000. But
Oh.
we had estimates all the way up to 8 or 9
just for one unit.
just for one unit. So prices have really changed,
Yeah.
but they are very very energy efficient, which is awesome.
You know, people always recommend changing your filters once a month, and that's a good idea. You can buy the little thicker HEPA filters, which filter out more dirt, but they also collect more dirt quicker. So if you don't, and they're more expensive. They're about $8 to $12 a filter. So what we do is we vacuum our filters a couple of times, and then when they don't look like they're getting as clean, then we throw them away. We try and get multiple uses out of the filters.
Okay, the last subject we're going to cover today regarding utilities is electricity, because that is a big one. And LED bulbs are like the cutting edge newest thing. Fluorescents used to be. Incandescent, you know, those are old now.
But here's the deal. This is an LED bulb. This is a less expensive LED bulb. They cost about $1 a piece. They are not dimmable. They also don't last as long as the more expensive ones, but they cost a little bit less. This uses about 9 watts, so about the same as a nightlight bulb. These are fluorescent bulbs that we got at Goodwill for $1 for 2 of them. This uses 14 watts. The savings difference, 9 watts versus 14 watts, isn't that great. These last just as long, and they cost half as much. So if you already have fluorescents, don't rush to go do LEDs, because the price point isn't there yet. They're still really new.
But they do have them on sale. LEDs typically on Black Friday. You can find deals on LEDs.
Well, I found
so
a
watch
bunch
for
of them.
that.
I found a bunch of them at Home Depot just recently for $1. So I am buying them. One of the things we like over fluorescents is that these come on right away, whereas fluorescents tend to start off a little dim and take time to warm up.
So we mix them. Sometimes we'll mix them, like we have the can lights in the kitchen, and we'll do every other one LED and fluorescent. So we have some that come on right away, and then the others come on pretty quick
Now,
after
the rule
that.
of thumb with fluorescents is it takes a lot of energy to start them up, and so if you're going to be in the room and out of the room really quick, leave it on. If you're going to be gone for more than 20 minutes, then turn it off.
I heard that was the rule for incandescents as well. Yeah, you need to be gone for 20 minutes for it to make sense to turn off the lights.
All right, another thing we did when we remodeled our kitchen, and we aren't in the kitchen today, but we put in a 2-foot by 2-foot skylight in the ceiling. And so we very rarely turn the lights on during the day. It keeps the kitchen really nice and coolly lit. When we first bought the house, there were like 4 set banks of fluorescent lights in a recessed area in the ceiling. And we took that out and put the
Those are the
skylight on.
The long tube ones.
Yeah, yep. And we just love it. Another way to save on electricity is set a timer or a calendar alert about once every month to 6 weeks to vacuum your your refrigerator coils. The coils, excuse me, the refrigerator coils are like a radiator on a car. If they get covered with dirt, they won't let the heat from the Freon dissipate, which means your refrigerator will have to work harder to cool itself on the inside.
And the coils, vacuuming the coils also works with your dryer. Even though I clean
It
out.
doesn't have a coil. But
Okay.
you're talking about the lint trap.
Yes.
Okay.
Even though I clean out the lint trap every couple of loads, some lint will inevitably fall down into the cavity.
And we have our lint filter goes from behind the dryer up the wall and onto the ceiling. And so I've tried getting things down there to clean it out, and I've tried pushing things up to clean it out, and I got desperate, so I watched a YouTube video. And this guy was a genius. He took a leaf blower, put it in one end, and blew the stuff right out of the top. And I did it, and it was amazing. It was the simplest clean out ever. So if you're curious to you should
Clean
see
out the whole tubing for
Right.
your dryer.
Now you want to clean your dryers about once every 3 or 4 months, because that excess lint can build up inside, and you can actually have a fire inside. We have a gas dryer,
Right.
and one time we did. It was just smoldering, but it
Right.
was kind of scary.
Yes.
One other way to save on electricity is to get a load controller. Now, the way a load controller works is you hook up a wire.
I'm gonna go get you something to drink. Go ahead.
Thank you. The way a load controller works is you hook up a wire from your major appliances, so it'll be your air conditioners, your water heater, stove, dryer, and the load controller will measure how much electricity you're using at any particular time, and you'll set a limit on it. And when you set the limit, if, let's say, you're running the air conditioner and then the dryer goes on and the water heater goes on, it'll say, well, sorry, you set a limit at this, and the water heater will take it above it, so it'll turn the water heater off. And you set a priority. And they're getting pretty smart. Back when we bought this house, it was pretty dumb. And so Annette would be trying to cook with an electric stove or something, and it would turn the stove off or turn the dryer off.
I didn't really understand how to work all the different appliances at the different times, and I've gotten much better at it.
Well, but now what we did is we converted our water heater, our stove, and our dryer, and our heat to gas, so we don't have the peak electrical demands anymore. But load controllers have come a long way. There are some that you can actually buy for your computer for your house, and it will control different loads via Wi-Fi.
Okay, talk about this and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay, and the last thing we want to talk about is phantom power. There are so many things that we plug in our houses that are using electricity in the background. Everything has a clock on it these days. You have your VCR, you have, well, not VCR, but your DVD player, you have your TV, you have a clock
phone
radio,
chargers,
your phone chargers, all that stuff.
Computer
so
chargers.
there are now power strips where you can have certain appliances plugged into them, and you can say, I don't want to turn this one off, but these other ones I want to turn off with the touch of a switch, or it has a timer on it where it turns things off. So just be aware that if you have 30 or 40 devices that are constantly on, that's going to draw a lot of electricity.
Okay, so for the wrap up.
We've
gone a little long tonight.
Oh, you can save money. Well, we did want to say make sure you have duplicate systems, and we talked about the gas for a gas system for heating and possibly a fireplace. And in Arizona, if you don't have an evap cooler, get one. They cost 1/3 the amount that air conditioners cost, and we run our air conditioner only from about July 4th till about the middle of September. The rest of the time we're running evap cooling, and it keeps the house just pleasant. It was just 68 degrees in here.
Yes, it was.
It was a 90-degree day outside.
Yes.
So anyway, what we like to do is make saving on utilities a game. Involve the whole family. Talk about it. Look for opportunities to buy stuff inexpensively. Look on Craigslist, OfferUp, SwipSwap, Nextdoor. People are selling things all the time, and you'll find some great deals.
Right.
Ask your neighbors if you can cut their tree down. Make sure it's a dead tree. You know. But
there's always ways to find things to save on utilities. Always. And it really is easier than you think when you're out and about doing stuff. So, okay,
we're gonna wrap up, but let's take a minute and just read a couple more comments, and then we'll.
Hi, Kelly. Kelly joined. Okay. Oh gosh.
Oh, there's a ton of comments.
Yes.
You guys make sure you read this feed because there's a lot of good ideas.
There is. Hi, we're so happy you're all joining us tonight, and just really excited. We'll go through and we'll make sure that we answer any questions that you have. So put your questions on the news feed, and like I said, we'll go back through and.
Okay, so Danielle says, I've lived in old homes. I didn't insulated curtains. Worked great.
She did use it. She probably did use insulated
curtains. She put together
curtains.
with kits.
Yes.
Mandy says she uses shrink wrap for the windows.
Okay.
Just make sure you use tape that is releasable and doesn't peel your paint off. We do post all these live shows eventually on YouTube. Somebody asked about that.
Sometimes we edit them, yes. We've got to reorganize our YouTube channel, but visit our website. Lots of money-saving tips on our website at moneysmartfamily.com. Okay, so great. Wonderful. And next week, we haven't figured out what we're doing, but we will do a show next week.
There was one other page I wanted to let you know about, and that is our utilities page.
Oh, yes. We have all kinds of great stuff.
We have a ton of utility savings.
Yes.
To save on cell phones, to save on water, heating, cooling, and electricity.
Yes.
So
on our website.
Check out this page. And if you have tips you want to share there,
Yes.
we would appreciate you doing that. Hey, thanks for tuning in.
Yes.
With Steve and Annette from MoneySmartFamily.com.
And we'll see you
Go ahead.
next Friday, date nights with Steve and Annette.
And make frugal fun.
Yes. Good night. Glad you could join us. Bye-bye.